bowlers. One from the Pro Bowlers Tour, Nelson Burton Jr., PBA Hall of Famer from St. Louis. And opposing him this morning, Wisconsin's top amateur bowler, last year's champion on Bowling with the Champs from Madison, Jeff Richgels. We're greeting you from the red carpet Regency Lanes in Milwaukee, where the bowling center of the future is here today. Bowling with the Champs is brought to you in part by Miller Beer. Purity you can see, quality you can taste. Miller, made the American way since 1855. And by Foster Pontiac, South 27th and Loomis. Folks really do save more at Foster. Good morning, I'm Hank Stoddard, along with Dennis Wright, once again in red carpet Regency Lanes, but a little different format this morning than most Sunday mornings. We bring you our annual special edition of Bowling with the Champs. Prior to the week, of course, of the Light Beer Championship from Miller, the big tournament down at red carpet Celebrity Lanes. And Nelson Burton Jr., as you heard, is here to take on Jeff Richgels. Same kind of format we usually have. It'll be a 3-game exhibition match. We're not going to give away the car or things like that, but we will have the usual money from the red carpet lanes, which means that each time a bowler wins a game this morning, he'll receive $50. There's $50 to the winner of the high 3-game series, a $25 consolation prize should one of the two bowlers fail to win a game, extra $100 for 700 series, extra $200 for an 800 series. So red carpet generously is donating that money, as they do each and every Sunday, to our regular bowlers on the show. But we'll change the format a bit today and get Bo Burton and Jeff Richgels come on up here and we'll talk to them before we get underway this morning. Bo, welcome back to Milwaukee. This is almost your second home. You come often enough.
Well, you're right, Hank. I've done a lot of work for Millers. They're our biggest sponsor on ABC television, and I've bowled in this telecast 2 previous times. I bowled Gary Dickinson. I think he whipped me 680 to 660, and Earl Anthony last year 660 to 650. So Jeff looks tough today too. So I can only go upwards on this show.
Let me ask you about fellas like Jeff. Now on this show, we keep seeing fellas like Jeff come along, young guys, 21 years old, 22 years old, and they're all turning the ball from one corner of the lane to the other. Is it just me, or are there more young, fine bowlers today than there have ever been in the history of the sport?
Well, there's more bowlers, and there are playing with more power. I think the contemporary thing to do now, Hank, is to roll the big hook, powerful hook. Jeff is actually an in-betweener compared to the real power players we have on the tour. He's not a super cranker like a Bob Hanley or somebody like that, and many of the young players we have on the tour. He has a fine game. I don't like to see a person be so polarized in one style that they can't adjust, and Jeff has a type of style that he could go down and in if he has to and still torque it up and hook it if he has to, so he has a great future.
Been a little bit of low scoring on the Pro Tour this year, Bo. Is there concern among the bowlers about that?
Well, it's been going on for a couple of years, Hank, and just to preface it, the PBA has their own lane maintenance crew, and they try to get the conditions equal for left-handers and right-handers regardless of scoreability. Well, I think they're going to have to take that into account because our ratings were down for the first time in the 11 years I'd worked for ABC last year. And we start off the opening season, the opening telecast this year, where the top 5 players only averaged 188. And I think there's a point of concern, and I feel by the time we get to the Miller Lite Championship, we'll have some good scores.
All right, and the Miller Lite Championship all this week, of course. We're taping this a little bit in advance, so maybe between the time we tape this and it plays back, maybe the scores will be up a little more. But Celebrity Lane's the site this week. And Jeff, you going to be down there this week?
Oh, yeah, I'll be covering the Miller Lite Championship for the Capital Times from Madison, so I'll be there every day to watch the pros. And a guy you saw earlier on the show, Mark McDowell of Madison area, he'll be there bowling, so I'm hoping he can do pretty good down there. But I'll be there to cover it. Okay,
Mark, of course, in our second round of Bowling with the Champs, one of your buddies from Madison. Jeff, as I said, was our winner on the show last year, was eliminated in the first round this year, but he's had quite a year. Bowler of the Year in Wisconsin. And he also, of course, represented the United States in the World Amateur Bowling Championships. You had talked at that time about going out on the tour. What's the present status, Jeff?
Well, we go to the ABC the first week of March, and the week after that I'll be sending my application down to the Midwest Regional Director, and he'll forward it. The regionals start in April. I'm going to go out and hit almost all the regionals this year, and only 2 national stops this year because I'd like to hold my rookie status for 1987. If I have a good year in 87, I maybe could be Rookie of the Year, and it'd be a great honor. I'd like to give a shot anyway.
Look out, Bo. Here comes another one out there.
They're all pretty good. There's a lot of good bowlers, and really, if there's any advice you can give to Jeff, is a lot of how you run the race when you get among the top pros. There's a lot of good driving range players, but once they get on the tour, I think Jeff has the good level head to make a good pro, and I think that's what you need besides ability.
Okay, we'll be back with game number 1 of our exhibition match this morning right after this.
Here the 60s and 70s. And Jeff Richgels, maybe not the full cranker, but he gives us all we want. And the player of the 80s, I guess you'd call him.
Bo was talking about equipment. He said, and you've said this in the show before, too, the preponderance of balls and the things balls can do out there today, partly responsible for the high scoring.
Well, there's no doubt about it. You go back when they had the hard rubber ball. Don Carter, of course, a good friend of Bo's. I imagine he used the same bowling ball for like 12 years. He'd plug it up, that same hard rubber ball. You didn't get a lot out of the equipment. You had to do it yourself by angle or knowledge. But that finesse game, I guess, is gone by the boards.
Yep, now it's, well, that's not all. You still need some talent, but the equipment's a lot better. We know that. We got a fellow at the foul line today. I also want him to watch closely so he can get some tips and do a little better for our Monday night team. Pella is our foul line judge today. And this is 35th wedding anniversary
Well,
today.
Congratulations to Patty Goodguy.
And to Bird, of course, who deserves a special place in heaven. For
really?
There's a fellow might not get there. No, I'm only kidding. George Vales, our official scorekeeper, who, as usual, is keeping track of the strikes and spares. We're on lanes 27 and 28, red carpet, Regency lanes, and Bo Burton would appear is going to start on the left lane.
This is a special Bowling with the Champ show where I take on Nelson Burton Jr., so to speak. The little bit of prize money that we got for winning games and series here, we donated to the Variety Club Children's Charity, of course. Mostly it was just a show that served as a PR vehicle to give a boost to the annual Miller Lite or Miller Open, Miller High Life Open, as it went through the years at the Red Carpet Centers in Milwaukee, one of the more popular stops on the PBA Tour. It was held in Milwaukee for all those years, and Bo bowled a special champs match several years in a row, and I got to bowl him this year. And, I mean, we were mostly having fun here. It was kind of embarrassing for me to win 2 of the 3 games and lose the series by $1 billion because I had such a train wreck of a middle game. But I guess you can get some yucks up and out of that and enjoy watching one of the, probably the top. Boy, I don't know. For sure, I know he's in the top 50 all-time PBA players. I think a case can be made that he's in the top 25 all-time greatest bowlers, period, in the history of bowling. Certainly, hardly been any players more accurate than Bo in his career. And I did a tour across Wisconsin to promote the Miller Open in early 1986, as I had been the 1985 Kegler Bowling News Wisconsin Bowler of the Year. We went around in a limousine day after day to various bowling centers across the state, doing exhibitions, signing autographs, touting the tournament. It was a lot of fun. We covered all the state of Wisconsin, and it was a tiring week. I got a lot of respect for Bo as a guy who had unending stamina and was great with the crowds, and we had a good time, and that was a career highlight for me, and I kind of became friends with Bo, and to this day still enjoy chatting with him when we run into each other or talk on the phone, and certainly one of the historic figures in bowling, and it was fun to be with him for that week, and it was fun to bowl him on this show. I hope you enjoy it.
Indicative of a half light pocket hit.
Well, it's a big week for bowling in our city. We'll watch Bo in replay here, how he gets to launch.
Now he has a textbook delivery. That's the way you teach it, straight, right to the foul line. Beautiful follow through. And 10-pin lead, Jeff Richgels, Madison.
All the pros in town this week down at Red Carpet Celebrity Lanes on South 27th Street. You want to see them in action, get on down there. Of course, the tournament runs through until Saturday with the championship finals and back-to-back 10 pins.
Wow, a couple of ringers. Those are 4 pretty good bowling balls. He threw them pretty well, too. I like that driving range player. That's George. Wouldn't George be a driving range player? Oh, here we go for Bo.
I know exactly what it means, though.
You mean you leave your game out in the practice field?
Well, I think if he'd gone on further, too. Watch this one. Yeah, he's got it. There are a lot of bowlers out there, I'm sure, who can fire 220 or so average, maybe, or 215 on their home lanes.
Oh, yeah.
And then you get out on the tour, and wow. Not only do you have to bowl like that, but you have to bowl in a different city every week. They're changing lane conditions, and right next to you is a guy like Bo Burton Jr., who's the ABC analyst and a Hall of Famer for many years, and that can be intimidating.
Well, a little bit high. Just left a 7. So Bo having trouble getting doubles. Just been hitting the pocket, left a couple ringers. And
another
kind of an off hit. Kevin Pierce came down to help Jeff Richgels on from Madison.
Corner person. And Bo going for that spare and makes it.
Oh, give the wrong guy to spare. 79 in the 4th. And if Jeff makes his 3rd consecutive 10-pin, he's throwing a harder shell ball at the 10-pin at the spares and leads by 9.
Well, that's what Bo and you were both talking about, the equipment today. You throw one ball to get a strike and a different ball, and it really is a different ball. The hardness of the ball and the surface of the ball, really a big difference, isn't it?
Well, and not only that, as Jeff was telling me in his first appearance on our regular show, he did not bowl real well, lost. But he told me he had the wrong equipment along. Now, he had 3 bowling balls. You'd think that'd be enough, right? But he said he should have had some equipment that was sanded.
Mm-hmm.
And to just accentuate the power of the ball, they sand that urethane ball, which just gives it more gripping power.
Well, we had Dale Traber, not David, the one that rolled the 300 game on our show this year, but Dale, his brother, who lost in the first round a few weeks ago. And he said afterwards, he talked about sanding. And there's another thing. Whoever talked about sanding back when you were bowling?
Well, I'll tell you, when they did it, they used to disqualify you.
Right.
I don't know what's happened to that rule, but...
Then we had the soaking episode, you remember?
That's right.
Back in the late 60s, was that?
Hey, we got a double
70s?
for Bo. That evens up this game. Fact is, he takes a short 2-pin lead. Of course, he's got 1 frame advantage. Jeff could get it back.
We're in the first game of our special exhibition match. If you just joined us, slept in a little this morning, well, wondering what's going on, say, hey, I thought that Jeff Richgels lost this year. He did, but he's back because he's helping promote the Big Miller Pro Tournament this week, coming up this week down at Red Carpet Celebrity, and opposing him this morning in the 3-game exhibition match, Nelson Burton Jr., Bo Burton from St. Louis, whom you see on your screen now on the right line.
Just outside the 2nd arrow. Likes it.
There
Turkey.
they go. 3 in a row. 6th, 7th, and 8th frames for Bo. And Jeff can match that. He has strikes up in the 6th and 7th. And the leads, if he can get another strike.
Oh, he's got it. He's had nothing but strikes and 2 real good 10-pins, 1 of a half hit.
Well, when you see the ball move as much as it does for Jeff Richgels, and you hear Bo Burton say he's kind of an in-betweener. I mean,
that's what I said. Well, he's probably got enough, though.
I would think.
Bob Handley mentioned, of course, and Mark Baker, a couple of the young fellas that just break the ball so much, it's almost hard to believe.
Well, Bo's got 4 in a row.
All right, and he holds a 2-pin lead now, and Jeff, pressure on him again. No car today.
No car to give away.
That got out too far. Oh, and made it all the way back, but no 7. Oh, that came a long way.
It sure did.
You can tell that ball's sanded. So he's going at a 2:26 pace. Watch everything around that 7-pin end. Just a nudge, but
not enough.
over.
Enough to tilt it, but not to knock it over. And I agree, after watching a replay, that ball looked like it was almost headed for the channel when it came back. So 186 through 8 frames and a spare up in the 9th for Jeff Richgels. Bo, well, he had 99 in the 5th, but since then he's rolled off 4 consecutive strikes. He takes that into his first ball here in the 10th frame. You wouldn't think you'd see that often.
You know, last year he left a 5-pin on an important ball, and yeah, not the type of leave that the good pros would leave, but it does happen.
No, I'm sure they occasionally leave every lead the amateurs.
I'm sure is right. 2-pin lead right now. Bo Burton. Jeff can win it with a double. He got the first one.
So Bo could go 218 with his strike.
No, that's not right.
Wait,
it's
more
got
than
to
that.
be 228.
Yeah,
That's right.
more than that. Yeah, 228.
And Jeff could go 230 with this one. Ooh, and the 9-pin, the last one to go down. That's a win for Jeff Richgels.
Yeah, Jeff with the double in the 10th to overcome the slight lead by Bo Burton. And Bo,
He moved a little bit further outside, and of course that time he didn't get the 5 again. This time the 2 with it, 226.
not a bad opening game. 226 for Bo Burton. PBA Hall of Famer. And here's Jeff Richgels, our amateur bowler of the year last year with 236, so he has a 10-pin lead after one game. Bo Burton, 226. Jeff Richgels, the young man on your screen right now from Madison, 236. So in the 3-game total pin count match, Jeff with a 10-pin lead. But 2 games to go. Stay with us. We'll be back with more right after this. Pro-Ams, but Bo Burton, 226. Jeff Richgels, 236 after game number 1. And we're going to go into game number 2 right now. And here's our leader, our champion on this show last year. And as I said at the opening of the show, a member of Team USA down in Colombia, wasn't it?
Bogota.
Bogota, yeah, that's Colombia.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, first one out of the pocket, 3-6-10. He let up a little with that big breaking hook. Tendency to pull it to the nose.
So Bo could whittle into that 10-pin lead right in a hurry here. And does.
That's where he wants to be. Dynamite. 17 PBA titles for Bo Burton. Oh, that's superb. 6th in the all-time money list. 8 times All-American. Hall of Fame for both the PBA and the ABC.
That's a fairly rare double, isn't it?
Really is. And 9 ABC titles. It's the most of any bowler, period. And he's done it all.
We saw Earl Anthony get elected this year to the ABC Hall of Fame. I think he was already in the PBA Hall of Fame. And certainly deserves. There's Gary Hartel, who's the executive director of the State Bowling Proprietors Association. And as we're taping this, it'll be over by the time you watch it, the bowling proprietors, along with Miller, take Bo Burton on a tour of bowling houses around the state. He gets to meet the rank and file bowler, so to speak, and puts on clinics, and it's a good week. And then of course we have the big week coming up now with the tournament itself.
Yeah, the Junior Pro-Am is taking place this afternoon out at Red Carpet Celebrity. And if you want to watch a real cranker, you can come down tomorrow night for the Celebrity Pro-Am and see Hank Stoddard, who breaks that ball a mile.
Sure.
George will be down there.
Sometimes covers 2 boards. There's the cranker. Now, Dennis, would you say you cranked the ball as much as, say, Bo? Because you came out of basically the same era.
Well, he doesn't crank it much at all, and that's my angle. And, yeah, I would say that it was similar to my angle, but I didn't get to finish it. He does.
Okay. And here is Jeff, who gets a lot of finishing. Sometimes has problems.
Wow. Went right through the middle and came up again short on the ball. A little bit slower.
Another gentleman on the bench there alongside Gary Hartel, Dave Strakota, who is the president of the State Bowling Proprietors Association. Dave, of course, from Strakota Millshore, and Jeff was trying to pull off a miracle there and get them all, and he missed them all.
There's Dave.
Yeah, well, we'll see him again here in a moment. There he is.
One of the pioneer bowling families of this city.
He doesn't look like a pioneer to me.
No, his dad, his uncle, they were so instrumental in the Bowling Association and its growing stages.
Obviously still are if he's the president.
Yeah, that's right. He's carried it on very well.
Bo looking for 4 in a row. There they are.
Not only looking, he's got it.
From the first
From
in
the
game
start,
number 2.
yep.
But John and Betty Foster sitting at home watching. Don't worry. We're not giving away the car this morning. It's an exhibition match, but we are giving away some money. We taped another show here today, or we're going to after we finish this one, with connection with Variety Club's Kids Bowling for Kids program. And we're going to have Jeff and Bo bowl against some of our youngsters who participated in the Kids Bowling for Kids program for Variety Club, and that program will be coming up later on in the year.
Bowl looking for number 5, as Hank said, from the start. Pretty big lead this game.
Yeah, after trailing by 10 after the first game. Oh!
Wow, what happened? Well, as some of the people say, that is the only true tap.
An 8-pin. Now, it's too good, sometimes you say, right?
Chops right through.
Yeah.
Too good also, no double.
Jeff rang a 10-pin there.
He's had his share of those.
And Bo with the spare. He is tremendously accurate on spares, and he was telling me before this match started, Dennis, an interesting story. He says he and his fellow pros sometimes get together and they play a game called low ball. Whoops. Jeff's going to have to not do that if he gets out in the tour, right?
That's right.
Bo says they play a game called low ball, and the idea is to knock down as few pins as possible rather than as many. And if you throw the ball in channel low, trying to do that, that's a strike.
Yeah,
that's what you don't want in low ball. Because you want to be a perfect game would be if you knock with your 2 balls each frame, you knock the 7 and the 10 off.
I would guess 20 would
20
be
is a perfect
score.
game, and he says he's had one, but he says 20 is in low ball a lot harder to get than 300 in high ball, so to speak.
I would think so.
But
That's
he said
really
the good
accuracy.
thing about it, the good thing about it is it's wonderful practice for making spares. And so the pros play it for a little diversionary fun, and I would suggest maybe a side bet or two. And then they're also working on their spare game when they're doing that. I'd never heard of it before, and it sounds interesting.
Well, Kuglich's New Berlin ran a tournament
Did they?
either last year or a couple of years ago. And I don't know what they called it, but that was the format. So Jeff with a low game working, and Bo with a decent game working.
And leaves a corner.
229 is what Bo was working on.
The crowd here this morning watching a star for many, many years in pro bowling, and that young man there who just could be a star in the years to come.
Coming up with, that young lady just saw herself on TV.
10 years since he missed a 10-pin, Bo just hollered at us here. Well, we'll see here. Talk about putting pressure on yourself. Well,
And
still 10 years.
streak is still going.
And a lot of amateur bowlers feel that that's the toughest single pin spare conversion, don't they? Right-handers.
Yeah, they may be getting away from that, though.
Yeah. I think most people now realize you don't throw it down that right board all the way down trying to get it, you know.
And then they're finding out there are a lot tougher spares around that pin deck. So we've got a 60-pin lead for Mr. Burton. In game 2, he trailed by 10, so he's got a 50-pin advantage in the match.
But I would say, Dennis, on our show, over the years, as I think back, for just a single pin leave for a spare, the 10 are probably still the one that's most missed.
I think so, without a doubt.
Yeah. Good
Well,
mix.
Right, got the 4-5-7 off the wall.
So in game number 2 here, let's bring you up to date in the score. Jeff struggled a little in the early stages of this match, missed the 10-pin and has 89 in the 6th frame, spare up in the 7th, and now we can bring you up to date on that, which isn't too good for him either, a split. So it's 107 in the 7th, and a difficult but makeable spare conversion for Jeff Richgels.
And heading for a rather anemic number here.
Yeah.
But that's right, this is makeable.
Ooh, it just hooked a little too much.
So working on, 150 game with a couple marks.
I don't know, you know, and throwing that hook at that spare, boy, I think, I may be wrong. I think I got a better shot at making that spare with my straight ball, trying to hit the left side of that.
No
pin
doubt about
wall
it. You
than
absolutely
he has
do.
with the hook at it.
You absolutely do.
I'm not saying, you know, that I have the accuracy
No,
necessary.
you're really not saying you're a better bowler.
No, I'm just saying
I know.
the straight ball would seem to be easier to have a better shot, given person of equal ability.
Years ago, the straight ball was always considered the good spare ball. And, you know, when bowlers started years ago, they didn't know how to throw a hook. And there were a lot of straight ball bowlers, both of them with strikes going into the 10th, and the straight ball bowlers were good spare bowlers. And of course, strange as it may seem, that's what's happening on the Pro Tour and with the good players. They're coming back to a straight ball for the spare shooting.
Well, Jeff got this strike with a pin coming from behind to knock out the 4-pin, but Bo's got the double up going into the 10th frame.
Yeah, he's got a nice game working, and Jeff, he's struggling.
Right over that second arrow, right into the bucket. Good mix.
Yeah, all kinds of mix.
Another three-bagger.
He's up to 240, could go to 250. Jeff's best, and that would take 3 strikes. 175. And he can't take care of that 10-pin. That's about 6 of them already.
And Jeff struggling in game number 2 after having led after the first game, 236 to 226. But Bo's going to go from 10 down to significantly up. Four in a row.
Oh, a Whistler. 248 with the spare, and of course he hasn't missed that in 10 years, so we'll count that as a spare.
Okay.
Jeff, on the other
Jeff
hand,
has missed it twice in this game.
That's right, and he buys a drink or something.
143, very Jeff Richgels-like score for 370 something.
Yep, 379, 248. That goes to 474, almost a 100-pin advantage. Wow.
After being 10 down. Well, Bo Burton strikes back in game number 2 with a 248 game. Jeff Richgels struggled.
They win $1 million. Not a bad day's paycheck.
And the 2 out of 3 you win too.
Yeah, Hank, that's a new dimension this year. If a person wins 2 out of 3, they win $50,000, which is pretty significant because that's larger than any other first-place prize on the entire tour.
Now, everybody knows about the pro tournament part of the Miller Lite tournament, but almost as important, I guess, is the pro-ams. I know Milwaukee has, it used to be, is it still the largest pro-am program in the nation?
It still is, Hank, and you know, it's a real testimony to the kind of enthusiasm that Wisconsin fans have for bowling. Today we have the juniors competition, which is just tremendous. The enthusiasm to see the junior players out there is just great. Then we followed up on Monday with the seniors, and then Tuesday we have the regular adult pro-am.
Now, people who bowl in the pro-ams not only get the thrill of bowling with the pros and competing that way, but you have special gifts for them, and we're looking right now at our screen on at a bowling bag there. Obviously.
That's correct. It's 2-ball special bag, and all the adult pro-am participants get the bag, and it makes a very nice. Today's conditions, most people have 2 balls, and it makes a nice carrying case.
Yeah, a lot of them have more than that. We see them come here with a ton of them, but they can get that bag, of course, for at least 2 of them. Now, for the juniors, you have special prize for them too.
They have a very nice notebook and autograph pad, and it's got a special pen that comes with it. And you know, and one of the real treats for all the junior bowlers is get the autographs of the pros, and this will make it a little bit easier for them.
We saw a couple of them on your screen there, and Bo's already autographed one, and the pros really are cooperative with the kids, aren't they?
They really are. You know, one of the things that makes bowling such a tremendous sport is the way the pros have contact with the fans. You know, if you look at football or if you look at basketball, the fans are removed from the bowlers. Here, when you come out to a tournament, you come out to red carpet this week, you know, the bowlers walk through the crowds. The crowd have a chance to talk bowling, and it's one of the real special things about the sport.
Okay, well, a big week down there, and Miller Lite with 3 pro bowling tournaments. I know you're involved in all kinds of other sports as well. And Miller's been a great sponsor of ours on Bowling with the Champs, and not only locally, but of course nationally, auto racing, everything else. And we want to thank you for that, for Miller's participation in sports, and wish you the greatest week ever.
Well, thank you. This program's such a very special program, and we're delighted to be here. Thank you very much.
Bob Bertini we've been talking with. He's the National PR Director for Miller Lite brand, the people that bring you probably the greatest commercials in television history. After 2 games of our special match this morning, Bo Burton has moved into a 95-pin lead. We'll be back with game number 3 after this. On lanes 27 and 28, Nelson Burton Jr., Bo Burton from St. Louis, on the left lane, our leader by 95-pin margin after that big 248.
248. Everything in the pocket that time, lofted it. I don't think that came off just right, and maybe that's the result. Looked like it hung a bit.
On his thumb?
On his thumb, yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's, you know, fairly common. You see some guys doing that on purpose, trying to get it out that far in the lane. But I don't think Bo gets it out that far intentionally.
Hey, one of our junior bowlers arrived, little young guy from Echo Bowl over there.
I see him.
Raised a lot of money for variety this year. I went over to Echo one day while they were bowling.
And Don Ciardo, who is our incoming, or is now the new Chief Parker, in effect president of Variety Club, showed up too.
Yeah, he's got to do something. He doesn't bowl much anymore. Well, he went to a different ball, same results.
And get that 10 pin out of there.
That's number 8.
And his problem has also been twice in that last game. He couldn't get it out with the second shot either.
Yeah, on a double pinnacle, 4, 6, 7, 10. 4, 9 and a pretty good hit, so he had nothing but trouble in game 2.
He's got it this time.
Got it home. How quickly the game can change. You know, 236 the first game, and he had everything in the pocket. But the bigger the hook, the bigger the problems can be. Bo, you would never think would get into that type of situation, and maybe a bad game for him might be 185.
Oh, another 10 pin.
And a good one that
Got
time.
10 pinitis here.
And that 6 just going high over the 10 pin.
Well, this is a special show, as you're aware, on Bowling with the Champs, and next week we'll get back to our regular format. And what great matches we have in our second round of our men's division on Bowling with the Champs. Some matches coming up in the future that should be dynamite. Ron Vokes against Tom Shem, or maybe we've seen this one.
Yeah,
We're taping
right.
this one in advance. I got to be careful here. But some of the names that were alive going in the second round: David Knacker against Bob Lappin, and Don Cook bowling against Mitch Marks. David Traber, the 300 bowler, will be back, and he will take on John Albrecht. And John Albrecht showed us a thing or two. Also 7-13 when he
John's
was on.
dynamite. I'll tell you, everybody in the first round that advanced has talent galore, and it would be hard to pick a favorite, really. Some years it looks like a couple people stand out. There's talent all over that second round.
John Witkowski against Brian Burgess in our final second round match. Mark McDowell against Kerry Catania, and what a pair of youngsters there.
Bo looking for a double. Light.
Got him.
4, 5, 7 off the wall again. Good speed. And he may be trying to loft it a little more on that lane to stop the action until the ball gets further down the lane. And Jeff trying to catch that 10 pin.
That's gone that time. He finally got that 10 pin out of there.
How about the 5th frame? Does that count?
The 5th frame for Miller this special
Oh,
show?
you think so, wouldn't you?
No, I guess we're not. If Bo wants a Miller cooler, Bob Bertini will deliver it to him in St. Louis.
Did we show the Pro-Am awards?
Oh, yeah, we sure did.
Okay,
Yeah, when I was
they're
talking
nice.
with Bob. Yeah. And Jeff Richgels has a garage full of Miller awards from last year on the show, from getting strikes in the 5th frame.
And he's got one hiding behind that 2-pin, Hank, the 2-8 Railroad.
The danger, it can be sometimes to knock off the front one, and the back one's still there. But with a ball that drives his whoop, he went right by it. And he looked like he lost his footing on his approach. He almost stumbled. Yeah, he stuck a little, and it's an open for Jeff Richgels.
And Bo did that on the right lane in the second game. So maybe the approach is just a bit tacky. In the wintertime, of course, you can pick up a little water, snow around the odd peripherals of the approaches, and you have to watch it.
And you can watch them all fall down as Bo Burton strings together 3 in a row, spare in the first frame. 3 consecutive strikes, and Bo adding to his lead here this morning.
And looking for bonus money with this strike, Hank. He's at the 690 level.
You know, these fellas have been on the show in the past. They've traditionally donated their money to charity. You got a feeling it might happen again today?
I think so. I think variety might come out of this pretty nicely. Some of the kids that can't walk will be helped by these great bowlers.
A little high, just about 4-pin high.
That's right. I think he knew it. They do carry out at times, but that one cleanly went behind the 4-pin. So that stops the 700 bonus money temporarily. Hank said, an excellent spare bowler. I shouldn't have opened my mouth.
How many years since you missed the 4-pin, though? Give him about 2 minutes, he said.
But the toughness of single spares, it's just magnified in the last few years because the oil moves around. That ball did not move at all.
No, it just stayed out there, didn't it? Yeah. And a strike for Jeff. And that makes him, well, how's he doing here?
Well, he's 20 down this game, which puts him over 115 for the match. Have to say he's out of it.
We didn't get Dennis to do his usual pick 'em before the match because I would think, Dennis, that if you're even with all Jeff Richgels' credentials, if you're going to have Bo Nelson Burton, I think you'd have to pick Bo Burton going in, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, well, I think you would think a youngster would want to win, obviously, and probably a little bit charged up more so than Bo, who, you know, this is old hat for him. And you know he's going to go bowl well, win or lose. And he is bowling well.
The turn, the result. Back in the strike pocket for Bo Burton.
Working on 207. Jeff now going up to 190 game. So he trails by 10 and over 104 frames to go. Academic, but they still, the bowlers love to string them out and look good. You know how talented both of them are. And of course, Bo, he's got titles up and down both arms. And speaking of arms, look at the size of them.
Really?
No. Oh,
washout.
That's going to hurt the bonus money. Unusually, 2-4 and a 10, a little bit easier than a 6-7 or a 4-7 or a 6-10, I should say. 6-7 or a 4-10.
You know, we're talking about the youngsters coming out on the tour, and Bo mentioned, you know, the big crop we see these days, and only some of them make it, obviously. Look at this. Nope, close. But it's one thing to go out there. Some, of course, never make it. But you get some of them go out there, and they make a fairly quick impact, and then they seem to fade. And, well, I'm thinking of Ricky Sajak. Now, maybe he's come back since I've taped the show, and he might have won a tournament in the last 2 weeks or so, and everybody say, what's Hank talking about? But he had such a, you know, looked like this guy, wow, was going to dominate, and then he kind of faded last year.
Well, I'll tell you, I think the predominance of the cranker really became in evidence last year, and Ricky was not that type of player. Mm-hmm. He was a finesse player, a pocket hitter, and that may be problematic for a few years, maybe forever, who knows.
And the spare.
So this game just about tied up, Bo with a couple pin lead, and there is a $50 for the winner, so that's on the line.
I have a correction to make. At the opening of this show, we said today, February 23rd, was Paller's 35th wedding anniversary, because that's what he told me. Now he's done some arithmetic in his head, which doesn't get used all that much, I guess, and he finds out it's only 34 years. So, well, the mind's the second thing to go, Pat.
Whatever it is, it's been a long road for Bird.
Bud wants to know what the first thing is. I forget. Here's Bo. There they go, except for the 7.
Oh, I would have liked to seen him carry that one because he had an outside shot at 700. That takes it away. The best he can do now is 699.
Next week, of course, we return to the regular format on Bowling with the Champs. If you tuned in a little late this morning, this is a special exhibition match helping promote bowling's biggest week of the year in Milwaukee. This week down at Red Carpet Celebrity Lanes, where all the top pros are in town for the Miller Lite tournament. And you're watching Nelson Burton Jr., one of the all-time greats of bowling.
In fact, his best is 689. Even if he had carried that, the best would have been 699. Another error.
He had a little trouble with arithmetic, too, huh?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Here you see the firm grip, the hammer, and the impeccable form going to the foul line.
You mentioned the hammer, and most people are aware of what we're talking about now. And balls of that type, which are softer shelled and seem to grip the lane and turn. Almost all the crankers using that type ball. Now you see a Bo Burton Jr. who isn't a cranker. Does it help a bowler of his style as well?
Surely. Oh yeah, you get a lot more finish in the pocket. A double in the lead for Jeff. Yep, it really does. If I could afford one, I'd probably buy one. I might improve a pin or two.
Well, I'll tell you, they are no longer cheap bowling balls.
No, sir.
A ball now could run you up around, what, $100 or more?
Yeah, more than $100.
And what they cost back in the 60s?
They were always around the $20 bracket for, I would say, 15 years in a row. They didn't change very much. Another strike for Jeff, and looks like he's going to pull this one out.
Win this game, huh? Please.
Watch the action. Very light in the pocket. Oh, everything on the left side. And, whoa, the 10 is still there, but we got a nudge.
There it goes. So Jeff's going to win 2 of the 3 games, but lose the war.
Well, not yet.
Well, if
now he will.
Okay.
That's going to put him at 220. He opened with 230, which are 2 very nice games. He'd just soon hide that 143.
The one in the middle. And that was when Bo had his best game, the 248.
And he can go to 600 with the 140 game, so he won't feel quite as bad.
Here it comes.
And there we go. 223, and that's going to give him 602. And that's pretty good bowling considering he had a 143 game. Bo can go to 215. Can't win the game. Nice series for Bo Burton.
Fellow you saw briefly on your screen there was the fellow we were talking about earlier, Don Ciarda, who's been on our show many, many times in the past, but is in danger of joining the Pinkellas and all that group, and we don't see him lately.
Oh, another whistling 8. Yeah, you're right. Fact is, he's bowling in the ABC with the Pinkies this year.
Is he really?
Yep. When you get old enough, you all end up on that team.
Don Bart's on there too?
No, Don's too old. They threw him off. Look at that hit.
Oh, I know. That's 2 of them for him, isn't it?
Right. And, you know, to me, I always feel that that's an excellent ball, almost more finish than you need on it because you chop that 5 off. If you're a little bit to the right with the ball, the 5 should carry the 8 pin out. So it's actually a result of throwing the ball too good. It doesn't sound right, does it?
Doesn't sound fair, but
right.
We've seen it enough times to know that something happens there to leave that 8 pin. And back
Look at
to
that.
back.
Now that's hard to take.
Now you have to throw 2 identical balls, you would think, to do that.
So a nice series in spite of the 8 pins, Hank.
194 for 668. Jeff Richgels with the 223 game this time for 602. Stay with us. We'll be back to talk with the bowlers and award them some prize money after this.
For an exciting match. For 2 games, $100. Bo, for the match and for 1 game, $100 to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Jeff, come on over here. You had a little problem that middle game.
Well, the oil did track down quite a bit, and with that red ball, if I moved out, it were a little drier, it really hooked. If I moved in, it skidded too far, and I didn't get quite the reaction, so I had to change balls. The lanes really changed as we bowled. I had to move a long ways, 7 boards in approach, just to make the 10 pin after I missed a couple.
Well, we want to congratulate you and thank you for coming on the show, and you have a special announcement you want to make.
Yeah, this $100 I made here today, I'll donate that to the Variety Club. I'd appreciate the honor to bowl with Bo Burton. It's a great honor.
All right. Thank you, Jeff. And, Bo, I got to ask you about that 8 pin. We're always talking about on the show and saying, hey, the ball was too good when you leave an 8 pin.
Well, I'll tell you, Hank, we've said on the telecast for years and years, I always say to Schenkel, it's an apparent good hit. And I think I have to just leave it at that. You can have solid 8s, 7s, 10s. Even these power players, you'll see what I call a swishing 6 pin. So, you know, if you get it in the hole, you're going to eventually get good scores.
I want to thank you for taking part in our show, and you're going to make a donation, too.
I think it's to the children's home, but I told Larry, I says, I have 4 children now, so maybe I'll just bring it on home with myself. No, this is...
Variety Club?
This is a great charity, and I enjoy bowling the show. Hope I can get back. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Bo Burton. Enjoy your week here in Milwaukee. That's our show for today, folks. A Bowling with the Champs special. Bowling with the Champs have been brought to you in part by Foster Pontiac, South 27th.